Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. Then we'll go through the GFS, we'll have a look at the NAO and AO indexes, and then we'll have a look at the GM, ECMWF and GFS Ensembles, and we'll finish up with the UK Met Office 5-day precipitation and temperature, and then also have a look at Met Office warnings, as we do have a yellow warning for fog. Now you can see we're looking at the live radar at the moment, and we do have our first meaningful rainfall for quite a while across many parts in the north. Has been quite cloudy recently and some patchy drizzle, but this is proper moderate to heavy rain, and it's ahead of much colder air that is digging in from the north over the next sort of day or two, with very cold conditions on Thursday, wintry showers for a few in the east, and really the biggest impacts will be those really cold overnight temperatures with hard frosts for many. However, beyond that high pressure will stick around, and we're seeing it stick around potentially for the next sort of 5 to 7 days. But we are seeing long-term hints from some of the models now and some of the ensembles that it could be turning westerly, unfortunately. And I know a lot of people will be disappointed hearing that. It's not guaranteed, but definitely having a look at the latest models, they probably have tipped a little bit in the favour of westerly winds in this sort of the 10 to 14 day scenario. It's not guaranteed by any means, but that does look like a higher chance than any colder weather at this stage, even though that is still possible in the longer term. We'll have a look at all the scenarios, and by no means all the models are going for it, as we'll see in the video. So if we do have a look at the live radar, you can see the heavier rain across the north at the moment. It's not falling snow for any yet, as we do have cold air sinking in behind it that's currently over towards Iceland, and that will be sinking southwards for all areas through Wednesday night into Thursday, and of course Thursday, Friday, pretty chilly days with hard overnight frosts. But what we're seeing now is the first bit of meaningful rainfall we've had in a while. We'll push southwards over the next sort of 12 to 24 hours, but it will fizzle out, becoming a bit more just patchy, lighter rain, and potentially some thicker cloud for many in the south. Now, if we do go through the GFS run, having a look all the way out to 384 hours, this really run is one of the runs that is pushing that westerly theme in the longer term. The three main models are going for different scenarios, of course, all the way up to day 10. But the GFS has definitely been one of the more westerly scenarios, even though over the last maybe 3 or 4 days it's been one of the colder runs, or colder models. It is going mild and westerly today. So we do run through, you can see that cold air plunging southwards over the next day or two, reaching many areas through Wednesday afternoon into the evening. Quite cold, -10 isotherm moving down the east coast, before high pressure does sort of topple back over and sit over the top of the UK. Now it just stays around. We're not seeing westerly winds in sort of the shorter term time frame. High pressure over the top of the UK, maybe a bit of showers in the north as lower pressure just try and push through. But it's really as we start to get towards day 10. And even a bit before that, maybe day 8, day 9, you start to see more westerly flows, that high pressure pushing further south and getting strained by the westerly winds from the stratospheric polar vortex. We see a bit of a brief north to northwesterly once again, and right towards the end of the run, you can see very much more westerly, with that high pressure all centred down further southwards towards the Azores, and you can see really quite unsettled, potentially even stormy with that. Now, you can have a look at the upper air temperatures, and there is quite a lot of cold air pushing out of the North Atlantic, parts of northeast Canada, southern Greenland, so it could be cold and chilly at times, but it's not a recipe for significant snowfall by any means. There could be some wintriness around at times with the polar maritime air mass, but it's most likely just going to be pretty chilly, unsettled, and maybe quite stormy, with a return of wind and rain for all with this scenario. Now, the one reason why I'm sort of favouring this more of a westerly scenario in the longer term is because of the NAO and AO indexes. Now, these basically show the strength or the contrast between low pressure, or the NAO does low pressure over Iceland, high pressure towards the Azores. If we're seeing a positive NAO, there's a big contrast, strong low pressure system towards Iceland, strong high towards the Azores, and that's bringing in quite a fast, strong jet stream, more likely to be unsettled, westerly and stormy. Negative, those low pressure systems towards Iceland are weaker, higher pressure is weaker in the Azores, and that's more likely to be an amplified jet stream with the general westerly zonal pattern being distorted. Now, we did have a look at this a few days ago, and the NAO and AO very split in the longer term, but is trending more towards positive on both of them. You can see the NAO is around neutral at the moment. It's hovering above and below neutral over the next week or so. And then you see the majority of the ensemble members are going neutral to positive. Weakly positive, around 1 or so, but that is still a positive NAO, more likely westerly winds, less amplification in the jet stream. So there are still some going negative, but the majority are going positive, which may mean a westerly scenario. And again, if we have a look at the AO, still a lot of spread, still maybe a quarter going around 0 or below, but very much a positive trend on quite a few of the ensemble members, some going even massively positive. And you can see whenever we've had the blocking potential, colder potential, it's been negative. So second half of November to the end of November, really, where we had that cold spell with Storm Arwen, negative AO. You can see again through middle to the end of December, when we had the potential of going colder in around Christmas time. In the end, it didn't quite come off, but the blocking patterns were still there that could have given colder conditions. You can see again a very negative AO. This is not too encouraging. It's by no means guaranteed. There's a lot of spread and a lot of uncertainty, as we'll see with some of the other models and ensembles. But general trends now, perhaps more to a westerly, stormy scenario. Now, if you have a look at the GEM run, which is putting a bit of a spanner in the works because it's going much more blocked and it's going colder at day 10. So this is why I say it's not guaranteed we're going more westerly, stormy, but as I said, this more favoured scenario, the GEM run, is on the colder end of the spectrum. Now, if we do have a look, you can see high pressure over the top of the UK, brief northerly wind later this week, pretty chilly, high pressure does topple, and we stay firmly under high pressure, seeing a brief bit of northwesterly winds, bit of low pressure moving through perhaps in around a week's time. But the high pressure just builds back in, it builds further northwards towards Scandinavia, Iceland, still quite a strong westerly flow. So that negative AO isn't completely diminishing from the GM run, but it's being held away by this Scandinavian high, which at day 10 is pushing in some colder easterly winds. By no means is it a beast from the east, there's no hints of that, but it very much would be more settled, colder. And if we did start to see a bit of a cut-off low developing, we could see some more wintry showers and maybe some more persistent snowfall within that. And if we did see a Scandinavian high hold towards sort of Scandinavia, Europe, coming up against westerly winds, we could see, stagnant weather fronts and marginal snow events. But again, this is one scenario at day 10, not looked at all by the GFS. GFS very much keeps that high pressure over the top, if not to the south of the UK, bringing in more westerly winds. So you can see big contradiction. So by no means it's guaranteed to go westerly, but I must say that is the more favoured scenario. Having a look at what the models are showing today. Now, if we do have a look at the ECMWF, again, I've said this over the last few videos, it's very much been more a realistic model, and not particularly been, it hasn't been bullish with any of the trends we've seen. It's very much stayed in the middle and sort of a moderate runs. And you can see, shows the northerly wind, high pressure over the top of the UK, and as we head towards day 7, high pressure over the top, and at day 10, high pressure still over the top, showing a probably negative AO, so quite a lot of low pressure to our north, which would favour westerly winds, because the high pressure is deflecting it, but the high pressure isn't far northwards and eastwards to be giving us an easterly wind. So it's, as I said, it's sort of a moderate middle ground scenario in between the GFS showing big westerly winds and between the GM run, which is holding that high pressure firmly over Scandinavia, giving us a easterly flow. So in between that would be very similar weather patterns to what we have now. Chilly under that high pressure, inversions, daytime temperatures around average, maybe above or slightly below depending on cloud amounts, and of course cold overnight frosts. So you could see all of these three models, they are showing very, very different things, and of course we have to take them all with a bit of pinch of salt, because they are not doing particularly well in their verification over the last couple of weeks, but at some point that will pick up again, and hopefully The GFS run is wrong for all those snow levels out there, and we see something similar to the GM run. But very much I would prefer high pressure just to stick around. I know we'll need the rain at some point, but these nice sunny days with pleasant conditions are really quite nice. Even though it is frosty overnight, that's not too bad, to be honest. I'd much rather that than flat westerly winds, stormy conditions with literally going outside, you're just trying to dodge any rain bands and showers. Much prefer the dry conditions we have now. Now, if we do have a look at the GFS ensembles, if we have a look at the area of the HPA and temperature and precipitation, you can see mild at the moment, but chilly towards the surface. As that weather front moves through southwards over the course of this evening, it has sort of an area of cloud and milder air because the inversion isn't taking place because we've got more mixing of air within that. So it's going to be generally milder over the next day or two, maybe overnight frost being cut out for many, but then we see that real big plunge in temperatures with that -5 to -10 for all the ensemble members, and again giving maybe a few wintry showers in the east, as we'll see with the UKMO run in a minute. But then after that we see a big rise in temperatures by the 23rd of January, and they hold around or slightly above average for the foreseeable future. And then in the longer term, we're still seeing a cooling trend for the last few days of January from the GFS ensembles, but you can see quite a few going mild, and you can see the operational run from the GFS. It is on the milder end of the spectrum. It is one of the mildest runs, but it has a lot of support, so we can't really say it's an outlier at this stage. There are still quite a few colder runs, getting down to maybe -15 degrees at 850 HPA on a couple of the runs, which is bitterly cold, beast from the east-like conditions. But again, we've been seeing that for the last few days, and none of them really have made it into sort of the 7 or even 10-day time frame. They've all stayed right at the longer term. There is a signal of precipitation picking up. That's more than we've seen over the last couple of days. So perhaps, yes, low pressure may be becoming more of an influence. And again, if we have a look at sea level pressure, you can see trending lower towards the end of January, start of February. Again, more symbolic of a more active jet stream. Perhaps high pressure still in the south, holding on, but general will still be more westerly winds, so it'll mean things are milder, even though we might still have high pressure over Europe and to the south of the UK. Many things in the south may be still higher pressure, drier, but still it will be quite westerly and potentially stormy and unsettled in the north. Now, if we do have a look at the ECMWF Ensembles, which are very good, as I've said over the last videos, at showing these scenarios with their anomaly charts. Now, if we go out to Day 7, you can see they're all broadly very similar, all slight different positionings of the higher pressure, but very broadly the same. Towards Day 10 is where we do get a bit of uncertainty. On 18 or 35.3%, including the control and operational run, high pressure over the top, maybe a slack easterly flow, but generally over the top of the UK, nothing too substantial. Inversion with that. Another 14 of high pressure, bit out into the Atlantic, more of a northwesterly flow, but still generally under the higher pressure, so it could be just generally northerly incursions. And then another 10, flat westerly, high pressure to the south, so meaning still drier and high pressure in the south, but generally still a unsettled flat westerly, so similar to what the GFS was showing. Another 6 have high pressure over the top, low pressure towards south, more of an easterly flow, and another 3 have bitterly cold northeasterly winds with low pressure out into Europe. So a few, maybe 10 to 20%, are still showing something colder at Day 10. Most are showing just high pressure at the top, and you can say only 10 or 20% of the ensemble members are showing unsettled conditions westerlies at Day 10, but that does dramatically increase beyond Day 10, as we'll see now. Now, if we go out to 300 hours, you can see 30, including the control and have high pressure still over the top of the UK, but you see that westerly wind very much increasing. That high pressure is centred over sort of England and Wales, but further north as those westerly winds will really start to be moving in. We have 21 or 41.2%. Showing more of a northerly flow with high pressure reaching more out into the North Atlantic. Again, I wouldn't expect that to be bitterly cold, but it would be showing a lot of northerly incursions, perhaps potentially some more sustained cold weather, but not bitterly cold by any means. And if we finally go out to 360 hours, you can see 30 or 58.8% flat westerly wind, high pressure still in the south, but quite unsettled with very negative, very positive AO, a lot of unsettled conditions, and then other 21 have high pressure again to our south, slightly different shifts in the positioning of the high pressure, but still a westerly flow with a very much positive AO with a lot of low pressure to our north. Really quite unsettled. Again, with this scenario, you can still see cold and northwesterly winds, polar maritime air masses, maybe the brief northerly here or there when you get a bit of a high pressure toppler, but I'm not expecting anything too crazy from that. So longer term trends definitely going a bit more westerly and milder. But you can see it's very much a minority option until day 10, and then it becomes a much more probable beyond day 10. But as we've seen over the last few weeks, we can't believe anything the models are outputting really at this stage up until, beyond day 7 really. So it's just hints at this stage of more westerly for the end of January, start of February. And very much, I think a lot of people would be inclined to believe that because westerly winds have always tend to overpower any colder scenarios. But I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of saying it's guaranteed to happen at this stage, because it is so far in the future and there is a lot that could change. Now we finish up the video by having a look at the precipitation and temperature, and then we'll have a look at the fog warnings as well. Now you can see over the course of this afternoon as the evening, we're seeing this precipitation band move slowly southwards, but it will sort of peter out, and we're seeing another weather front move through early hours of tomorrow morning, again moving southwards and petering out with wintry showers pushing in behind it. Will just be a bit of cloud and maybe some patchy rain in the south, that weather front tomorrow, and then generally of course wintry showers pushing into the north, quite unsettled along the east coast with quite a few wintry showers. You can see the majority of them are back into the North Sea. If we had this pattern shifted slightly further westward, we'd be seeing a lot more snow and wintry showers for northern Scotland, northeast England, perhaps even parts of the northwest as well, and western parts of the country. But unfortunately, it's all out in the North Sea, just maybe skirting the east coast. And you can see East Anglia could be seeing quite a few snow showers, maybe for early hours of Thursday. Could be a light covering here or there for some areas as the ground is really quite cold. And beyond that, those showers eventually do peter out, and we just see again quite cold conditions under the inversion. See a few weather fronts push into the north, but generally areas are pretty dry. Now if we have a look at the max temperatures, you can see today temperatures getting up to around sort of 6-7 degrees. So not massively mild, but not amazingly cold either, around average to below average temperatures. Now over the course of this evening, we will see a frost return for a few further northwards, maybe in the Midlands, but as I said, with more cloud as those weather fronts are dropping southwards, it'll keep those temperatures up with a bit more mixing of air. And then through Wednesday, temperatures quite mild in the south. As I said, with more cloud around, those temperatures won't be dropping overnight. Therefore, the temperatures in the day are going to be a little bit milder with that cloud around as well. 8, 9, or maybe even 10 degrees for a few. But in the north, you can see temperatures by the middle of the afternoon dropping to around freezing as that cold air just sinks southwards. Wednesday night is going to be progressively colder as that cold air sinks southwards. Most areas, though, waking up Thursday with a widespread frost. A few areas, maybe in the far south, holding on just above freezing. That cold air hasn't quite reached far southwards, but many areas in the north, parts of Scotland, Republic of Ireland, -1, -2, or even -3 or 4 degrees. Through Wednesday, temperatures are going to be really quite cold. You can see a few areas will not even get above freezing through Thursday, but the mildest temperatures really will be across the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, the far southwest, maybe 6, 7, 8 degrees. But many areas in that really cold air mass getting down to -8, -9, -10 degrees at 850 HPA, 3 or 4 degrees. So yeah, really quite cold there at those highs. Through the evening though, temperatures going to drop away rapidly. Areas in the south, -3, -4, -5 degrees, waking up through Friday morning. There will be some cloud flirting southwards as milder air does eventually try to push in through Friday, which may bring the temperatures up a little bit, with temperatures actually peaking or being at their lowest around sort of 3 or 4 a.m. in the south. And by the afternoon, temperatures still struggling around 4, 5, maybe 6 or 7 degrees for a few. Again, maybe an overnight frost Saturday for a few areas, but nowhere near as widespread as Wednesday or Thursday night's frost. And Saturday, 6, 7 degrees, not too bad. And then Sunday, early hours, again, 4 or 5 degrees. There'll be a bit more mixing of air, and then the version will eventually be returning for next week. So it's looking really quite cold over the next few days. And even when we don't have really cold, frosty weather, it's still going to be chilly with temperatures around average, really, for this time of year. Finally, we'll finish up with a fog warning, as usual, from 5 p.m. this evening till 6 a.m. tomorrow. Fog expected to thicken up and reform Tuesday evening, leading to some difficult travel conditions across the far south of England to the southeast, perhaps into parts of Oxfordshire as well, and parts of southern parts of London as well. So some thicker fog there. It's very difficult to forecast this, as it does form quite patchy. It's like forecasting the clouds in the sky. Very difficult to say exactly where we will see the thickest fog, but this general area is highly likely to be seeing some potentially disruptive fog. So if you are in this area, make sure you stay up to date and of course stay safe out there. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new.